It's 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 18th of September 2019. Good evening and thank you for tuning in to RTV Ora's English edition. My name is Alexandra, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news translated into English. The Albanian Road Authority has found violations in the documents submitted by the economic operator Jakka Construction during the procurement procedures for the construction of the Kardici tunnel. The company has submitted documents which are said to prove their experience for similar work. However, it is suspected that these documents have been manipulated and submitted under false pretences. The Albanian Road Authority has also noticed irregularities in the RTV highway during a recent inspection. They assert that whilst certain aspects of the project have been declared as completed, the reality depicts something quite different. Given this, the Albanian Road Authority has addressed the Public Procurement Agency with a request to launch an investigation against the construction company. However, the company responded by saying that all these accusations are linked to the decision to cancel the tender for the construction of the 7th section of the Kardic-Delvin Road. There are more than 4.2 million euros being taken illegally to build public infrastructure, given that the company determined that the road could be built at a cost 4.2 million euro less than the winning tender. It seems there are corrupt interests at play here. However, we cannot decide whether this is true or not. The prosecution must launch an investigation and allow a judge to make a decision. We have submitted to the prosecution documentary evidence that leads to our conviction that penal offences have occurred, stated the company's legal representation. Jakka Construction won the tender for the construction of the RTV highway, valued at 225 million euros. As for the Kardic-Delvina road, the tender was recently and abruptly cancelled by Minister Belinda Baluku. Through a letter dated the 30th of August 2019, Baluku claims that the funds will instead be allocated to important projects, an argument that bears little logic given that the Kardic-Delvin road was presented as one of the top 5 most strategic projects by the government and offers significant benefits for the tourism industry, as it would cut down travel times from Tirana to Saranda by 3 hours. Furthermore, the cancellation has occurred at a time when 60% of the work has already been completed. The indicators point to the idea that the construction companies are placing significant pressure on the ministry during the periods of procurement procedures are occurring. It has been revealed through the Inquiry Commission that a major factor in the President's decision to cancel the June 30th elections was information received of the possibility of an arson attack on the Parliament, which was expected to occur on June 8. It was the head of state who submitted the document to the chair of this commission, but none of the data was made public. The institution of the presidency and the president himself have shown readiness in making available to the investigative committee any material available in connection with the fact that he himself testified before the commission. We have a correspondence with the institution of the presidency, said Ulsi Manya. Waiting for the Venice Commission report, the majority MPs propose extending the work deadline by a further 2 months. The extension of the Commission's term was opposed by the new parliamentary opposition, who even said there was no violation of the Constitution by the President. I believe that this Commission should not exist because it does not have the necessary elements to pursue a procedure against the President's investigation, because we do not have serious violations. So, not to delay the deadline, but we do have a serious offence that blames the President because the President has not made any agreement that affects the interests of the country or the interests of Albanians, said Adriatic Alimadi. Clarifications on the head of state's declarations have been sought by the head of the State Intelligence Service, Helidon Bendo, from the Parliamentary Committee on National Security. This Assembly's decision has the duty of setting up a special investigative commission which is gathering evidence and facts about the allegations that have been raised by the parliamentary inquiry in the Assembly. So the request will be accepted. Let's be clear. In no case is the State Intelligence Service an institution that informs the Parliamentary Committee. Ours is confidential information that serves national security and can't be leaked anywhere, said Ermanela Fenai. The initiative to request full information from the head of the Intelligence Service was made by 9 MPs of the majority. Given that the political parties seem unable to find a way to sit at the discussion table, the OSCE presence has attempted to bring them closer by inviting them for dialogue regarding the electoral reform on September 25. The OSCE office in Tirana, in cooperation with the Special Election Reform Commission, has sent an invitation to all parliamentary and non-parliamentary parties. The OSCE presence remains ready to support the Albanian authorities in completing the electoral reform in a timely and comprehensive manner, addressing all the recommendations of the OSCE, ODIHR and national and international stakeholders. The OSCE writes in the invitation that it organises this high-level conference on the topic "Denied by the System, Building an Inclusive System to Protect Democracy," as an opportunity to receive stakeholder proposals on the weaknesses and advantages of different electoral systems and adaptation to the Albanian context. The conclusions drawn from the conference will be sent to the Assembly for consideration during the electoral reform discussion. The sitting of a majority of the extra parliamentary opposition and the opposition was announced a few days ago by the leader of the Socialist Party's parliamentary group, Talib Bala, who said he was convinced that the Democratic Party and the Socialist Movement for Integration would sit down and collaborate on electoral reform with the SP. One day after urging award-winning students to denounce corruption at universities, Prime Minister Edi Rama warned that taxpayers caught up in abuses would also be punished. The government is working on an incentive plan for the fight against corruption in the economic sector as well. Soon we will make public the new measure for every business, starting with small business, as they are often subject to corruptive pressures. We hope to encourage small businesses to denounce every kind of person who enters their premises and applies pressure or disturbs their activity by violating ethics and going beyond the law, said Prime Minister Rama. Rama reiterated the call to the administration to be careful in providing services to the citizens. Rama made these statements at the weekly meeting on the co-government platform. According to the Prime Minister, there are more than 800 people, from directors to specialists, who have had punitive measures applied from prosecution to dismissal warnings. Experts have expressed that they are against the government's draft for the creation of the Investment Corporation. Although the draft law was revised, they continue to argue that there is no clarity regarding investment projects or their submissions as per procurement law. Bouillard Bendo argues that this draft is a camouflaged way of providing PPP concessions. The expert Salami Jepa is also opposed to this initiative, as he says the transparency is completely lacking. Currently, the draft for the Investment Corporation is being considered in committees after receiving the opinion of the European Commission. At the first meeting of the Political Military Steering Committee, which was held in Tirana, Defence Minister Olta Jakka spoke of an open-door policy that would give the region more security. The meeting comes just days after Albania assumed the leadership of the SEDM. An open-door policy will give new impetus to regional initiatives. Developments in the Western Balkans are a good indication of how this cooperation, with the involvement of NATO and the European Union, can affect the stability and building of modern, peaceful societies. Now is the perfect time to extend the same opportunity to other aspiring countries in the region, thereby strengthening regional and international security, explained Jakka. This year, Albania is also at the forefront of another regional initiative, the US Adriatic Charter Ministerial, otherwise known as A5. The focus will be on further strengthening coordination and mutual support, especially with the United States, in the active and effective fight against terrorism and violent extremism. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and please join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. On behalf of Ora News, thank you and good night.